The Nigerian Senate currently has some credibility issues. Now, amid the controversy trailing the interview by Senator Abdul Ningi, that the Senate cushioned or padded the 2024 budget to the tune of 3.7 trillion, claiming that the federal government is operating two versions of the 2024 budget, and that the 28.7 trillion naira budget passed and signed into law by President Bola Tinubu was skewed against the North. These allegations have ignited or sparked off reactions or criticisms, culminating in his suspension. On Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue, we take a look at the integrity of the 10th Senate. How lamentable, in the words of serving Senate President Godswill Akpabio, stressing that the upper chamber or red chamber has been subjected to ridicule as Nigerians are bashing the lawmaking arm of government. The show is Viewpoints, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm Odiawa AI. With me on the show, I've got Pelumi Awe.
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. You do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across various social media platforms. Pelumi, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Actually, when it comes to the monetary aspect or economic aspect, particularly finance, that's why I like to have you on the show. Now, the question now is, this accusation leveled against the Senate or the executive arm of government of having two versions of the 2024 budget has already sparked off mixed reactions, particularly from Senator Bamidele, who is representing Ekiti Central Senatorial District. He actually stormed into the Senate. And of course, there was a bit of tension and it was eventually doused. All this transpired last week. Now, as we speak now, it has now culminated or escalated into issues of whether he made the statements or whether he did not make the statements, thereby causing this damage to the image of the Senate, which is actually suffering from this level of credibility. Can you give us a brief overview on the whole perspective?
Well, I think a term that has become something that most Nigerians have in their mouths now is budget padding. Before now, many persons didn't pay attention to it, but I think many Nigerians now understand the term. And just to break it down very simply, budget padding means overestimating costs and underestimating revenue, in that you add more to what should be. And I think I read an article by a man called Joe. I think it was in the system some years back. And he shared the idea that usually when a budget is being brought to whether to the boss or anyone, they tend to cut down the cost without giving you a reason why they are cutting down the cost. So usually, so that they don't fall short of what they should use to do the project, some workers tend to add more to the budget so that by the time whatever the boss is cuts down the budget, the amount left can be used to sort out things. And I think it's understandable in many ways. But what the senator has said, or what he said initially, was he said it from the place of the fact that the budget had been padded, meaning that there are two budgets being run at the same time. So some people have said that 25 trillion naira was what was presented to the House, but they added the rest to it. But what we have seen so far so good is that that is not entirely the case. And I think it's a case of misunderstanding. Listening to what Senator Bamidele said, you can already tell that there is a discord within that family.
We're still coming to that.
There is a discord there, but I think the issue now is there are two concepts now: budget padding or no detailed description and allocation of funds. Yes.
Okay, I'll take a cue from that, but before we commence, I'll like this video from Senator Bamidele, aka MOB, as it's fondly called in Ekiti. We can have that video pop up, please.
4 quick issues to raise. Number one, I stand with due respect to say that what my big brother, distinguished Senator Abdul Ningi, who I respect so well, planned to do or set out to do was tantamount to a civilian coup, which has failed. And in doing this, he wanted to use the platform of Northern Senators Forum. Number 2, I pay glowing tribute to His Excellency Senator Tambuwal, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, and to His Excellency Senator Ahmad Lawal. Why am I doing this? They had very peaceful tenure, and I was one of those instrumental. I'm also speaking as a Southerner for the first time. The attempt to take the election of the leadership of this Senate beyond June 13, 2023 must stop. 60-something senators voted for Godswill Akpabio. 40-something senators voted against Godswill Akpabio. The will of the majority. Every day, there have been a few, just a few. And that's one of the reasons I will pay tribute to Senator Tambuwal. He didn't pretend about where he stood. But after that, some of them got up on the floor of this Senate and said, election is over. Let's work together as senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A few have refused to do this. And that's why it's always about Akpabio, never about the Senate, never about the House of Reps, never about the Office of DG Budget. All of us pass this budget. Never about Mr. President who signed this budget. It's always about Akpabio. We have a momentum. This is a defining moment for all of us to say, if we are going to have a stable Senate, let us have one. It is not about North and South. It's about our rules. It's about the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's about our people who are hungry and deprived. Mr. President, sitting as chair, make no mistake about it. A few people who fear they will not give you more than 1 year to spend in this chair want to do everything possible before the 13th of June to remove you. And I am telling you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, and that's why I say I'm speaking as Senator Michael Okpeyemi Bamidele, not as the Senate leader. As the Senate leader, I've always done everything possible to stabilize this Senate. I'm speaking, I'm exercising my own privilege as a senator. Now I am telling you, sir. I am telling you, sir. And I want Nigerians to know, I say it for history. The last time the people of South that you represent had a chance to be Senate President was over 40 years ago. The last time the entire people of the South had a chance to be Senate President was during Obasanjo regime, when he went to the Southeast. 5 people were elected because they were impeached in quick succession. But as soon as he left the South, we had peace and stability again because we will always cooperate. David Mark spent 8 years. Senator Ahmad Lawal spent 4 years, peaceful 4 years. Saraki, even with all he did, spent 4 years, he was not impeached. It is about Akpabio. It is about the South. You can now understand why Senator Ningi, we want to use the name of Northern Senators Forum, even when most of them did not agree to this. Mr. President, I plead with you. This is an opportunity for us to follow our rules. If tomorrow the wisdom of the elders of this Senate prevail and they feel we should do otherwise, let's lock ourselves up in a closed-door session and take another decision and go back to the world and reconsider ourselves on whatever decision we take today. I beg all of you, we must do the right thing today. Senator Ningi took this to the public domain, standing up to apologize here, even after he repeated that some people got 100 billion naira from this budget, some people got 60 billion. Haba, what apology are you expecting? Let us do the right thing, and I am saying it as part of the leadership of this Senate. I am not bothered. I was going through online, just as this is going on, it's trending now. that every senator got 500 million. My appeal to Nigerians is not about what was said there today, because I'm not going to deny that. But we have 12 months to implement 2024 budget. Let every Nigerian wait to see whether there is any of these senators who will not bring enough boreholes, enough solar street lights, enough road construction, and other projects, training and empowerment, that will be up to 500 million naira. That is it. I am not protesting. If I got anything here, it is not money put in my pocket. They are constituency projects given to my constituency. And I'm not apologetic about it. Mr. President, please let us go into the prayers and do the right thing.
Now, in this video, before the video came on board, it was a question of you stating that there was a bit of discord. Now, you mentioned two things, which is misrepresentation of facts. Then secondly, what else did you say again?
Budget padding.
Budget padding. Now, the third one I would like to add was this sentimental whip, which was thrown particularly by Senator Bamidele at Ningi, stating that he actually plotted a civilian coup against the sitting serving Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Now, going over to the budget padding, which is an administrative term, it was used during the Buhari tenure where they had to pad the budget, and they also made use of it now again in this administration. Now, it so happens that senators now in their senatorial districts, have they actually heeded to this padding, particularly with their luxurious lifestyle, when it has to do with purchasing billions of vehicles, when in fact there are far cheaper Jeeps or SUVs that could actually serve the same purpose?
Well, there's a lot to say about budget padding. And like I mentioned before we saw the video, that it's the idea of adding more to cost. And then so that maybe by the time you get, there are many reasons for it. First is maybe by the time you get to the market, it becomes more than that. Or maybe by the time the budget has to go through different processes, then it will be cut short and the cut off, some parts of the cut off of that budget, and then the remnant may not be useful to get things done. Something else is that it could be from the place of saying that Naira can get devaluated anytime. And if we have to spend some money buying anything from the outside world, then we need to find a way of ensuring that there is a space that can afford the difference between what Naira was and what Naira is at the moment. So the bit of justification around budget padding is done all over the world. But the idea that can that work in Nigeria? Our senators are not even helping matters. The way they spend money, the way they do things, you're shocked at how they claim to be on our side but are not doing what they are supposed to do. Now, guess what? Imagine if the cars that they spend money to buy happen to be cars from Innocent, for instance. Within our geographical space here, patronizing our people, how that people can trust them more when they say they are doing these things. It's not a term that is negative. Budget padding is a term that I apply it to my business. You apply it to your business as well, where even in your daily life, you want to go and buy something and then you say, okay, this is the amount that it should be, but let me increase the cost. So by the time I go to the market, if there is a difference there, I can fill the gap. And then if you do it from a good standpoint, nobody calls it corruption if you do it from a good standpoint. But some people have said it's not legitimate, that write the exact cost there, state things out. But the other part is that I think I saw the video by Professor Soludo addressing the people and mentioned the fact that himself and his wife, he hasn't been paid since he got deny himself that. Yes, and also mentioned, he even pointed at his wife. He said his wife is still driving an old car. They've not gotten a car for themselves since they got into government. That the car that his wife presently drives is his own car that they've been driving before he got into office. So our senators are not helping matters. And because of the way they live their life, the things they are doing, every time they make a move that doesn't look like it's entirely understandable, people tend to come against them. So the part of the budget that we are speaking about now, that for many people, they are saying this is the issue. The issue is the 3.7 trillion naira, which the man said was used to pad the budget, was not clearly defined, didn't contain details. But it felt like...
So that answers the other question where facts were not actually presented from his own end.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't quite have some facts to say that this was what happened. The point is, sometimes when you are very angry about the system, when you are not happy about something, you may tend to overreact. and you may tend to act in such a way that your emotion takes over you. And that was where Senator Abdul Ningi was coming from. To say that it feels like the North have not gotten over the fact that Akpabio emerged as the Senate President.
Okay, now it takes me now to the sentimental whip which he was lashing out or whipping out on Senator Ningi. Now, it's a different thing when you let your emotions control your sense of reasoning, because I could see towards the end of that video, that was what began to play out. Because it was a situation whereby northern senators who emerged as Senate presidents, just to mention the likes of Aminu Tambuwal, what's his name, Bukola Saraki, and also the likes of David Mark. Now, these senators, actually from Middle Belt upwards from the north, actually had a stable and peaceful tenure while as Senate presidents. But if we mention the likes of Ekwere Madu, now we now have Godswill Akpabio now. If you remember Chuba Okadibo some time ago, some decades back, now these fellows have had turbulent eras in their tenure as Senate president. That is the sentimental whip I was coming out. Will it be right to say, from the perspective of Senator Bamidele, that Ningi was trying to come on board using the budget padding to get at Senate president, being that his tenure has been tried and tested before the 13th of June, which is to expire?
Okay, well, I think a way to also see that is that it came from a place of he has bought so many things in his heart, and then he looked at that as an opportunity to spite him. Because if you look at the flow of how it happened, announcing that you have proofs to show that the budget was padded, and then after a while he was suspended almost immediately, and after a while then he said that he's sorry, that he was wrong, he was misunderstood, and all of that. It came from a place, it's clear, it came from a place of unhappiness. But I can't pin that unhappiness, or I can't pin that unhappiness on anything. Maybe I wouldn't want to say that maybe it's from the place of saying he's trying to orchestrate a civilian coup on the Senate president. I wouldn't want to say that. I'm saying that it came from a place of unhappiness, because before you even go to the press to say that, you would have called your people, have conversations within the house to say, okay.
So now the problem now that there was a missing link, now there was no connection. He ought to have, like, held a plenary session, of course, with his distinguished colleagues before setting out outside there and launching the image of the upper chamber out there, which was quite damaging. Will you agree? Yeah,
totally. It should have done that. There was a communication gap as to how that happened, and some terms have to be explained. And I just want to put a balance to what I said the other time as to the fact that we have a system, we have leaders who don't come out clean, and when you make certain details very clear to the people, they will file behind you. But our system in Nigeria today, our senators, people in leadership, don't come out clean until then something now leaks or a whistle gets blown, and then they now come out to say, no, that's not what happened though. But why not at the initial point? Why not come out so clean? So when I mentioned about budget padding, meaning that you increase costs with the consciousness, with some things in mind, that if maybe between this time and this time, every budget is supposed to be for 1 year with the way they've drawn it. So within from, let's say, from January till June, nobody could have exactly written down. So we have economists who projected that by February, food price inflation would have risen, because what was released by the MBS recently showed us that there was food inflation that rose to over about 30%, and that's a lot. So when the budget is being released and they say, okay, it's from January to December, with the projection in mind that if by June, things we want to import that are on that budget, things we want to buy that are on that budget, because we're also going to be doing capital expenditure. Part of the budget, looking at the budget, you realize that a larger chunk of the budget was designed to cater for capital expenditure, meaning that some things will be imported, some things will be built, some bridges will be built, some roads will be done. And so if that is the case, I can project to say, let's leave an allowance on the budget so that if Naira now becomes, a dollar now exchanges for 2,000 Naira per $1, then this difference will cover for that. If that's the mindset, then it works. But if that's not the case, then they should tell us what it is.
So apparently there are hidden agendas which are for selfish benefits. That is what is being perceived or suspected by Senator Ningi. Now, before we proceed concerning that, we're talking about selfish benefits, which actually maybe he must have been misinterpreted or misrepresented as to addressing these facts. Can we have that video pull up?
I said Bola Tinubu is implementing two budgets. there was no time. At no time did I say Bola Tinubu was biased against the North. The House of Virgin is there. At no time did I say Bola Tinubu is implementing 25%, 25 trillion budget. I say we have established beyond reasonable doubt about 25 trillion so far has nexus in the budget. That means there is money, and then there is project, and then there is location. Money, project, location. But we are yet to ascertain 3 trillion of that budget. We have established the 3 trillion in the budget. We have not established its location and the place. I don't want any northern senator to come here. If it is a cross I have to carry, I'll carry it. I'm not afraid of anything.
One, it is not true that we have 2 appropriations. 2, Senator Ningi must be charged to courts for conduct likely going to cause breach of peace and criminal misinformation. These 2 are very important. The charges will be preferred by the Criminal Justice Department of the government, and of course, after thorough investigation. If you have done something that is not good, cover your eyes with shame, and then go back and then retray your step. You cannot come. We are 109 people in the Senate, and you cannot come and destroy our integrity and reputation, and that will not be acceptable. What you put in the daily is very important. Don't hide under Hausa language. When does Hausa language become a controversy in Nigeria?
Now, according to that video, we could hear Senator Ningi coming on board to actually make known the fact that he was actually misinterpreted. Facts were being misrepresented. But following up to that, we also have Senator Jimo Ibrahim representing Ondo South. He came on board to actually further state that Senator Ningi should actually be charged to court. Now, even after the suspension, will it still be fair to charge him to court?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's a moment for our senators to have a retreat, to have a cool hangout, to bond. It's clear that there is this call, and it's well pronounced, because you have it now that before you know it, and this is what happened, before you know it, there is the Northern Senators Forum where they have conversations. We also have people from the North South as well. And so what should happen is they should call themselves together and have a conversation in-house. There's a way to correct people. And this, like I said the other time, anybody who is a psychologist who can see through smoke screen will understand that there is an issue that has not been rectified, that has to be rectified, else everybody will be looking for the other person's downfall. But to now charge the senator to court who made a mistake, and he allowed his emotion to take over him by not gathering facts enough to be able to say these are the facts that prove that what I've said are true. So even if he's charged to court, I'm telling you, it will most likely be guilty, because it doesn't have strong evidence. But the part of the budget, like I said the other day, part of the budget that he didn't quite understand, and I'll put it that way, he didn't quite understand, is that some things were not given detailed descriptions. And then it was that point he suspected that, I'm guessing they've done budget padding, let me make this announcement to the public and then things should happen. But it's not the case now.
Okay, you made mention of bonding. Before we go into that, will it be right to say that some of our senators are not knowledgeable enough, such as not to make reckless statements which might be indicting either to themselves or damaging to even the legislature in which they represent their constituencies? Because look at it, you said something now that the budget was being padded, and you were vehement concerning that, feeling or thinking maybe there were selfish benefits attached for each senator. Now, the question now is, after heated arguments had now sparked off, you now came on board to say that was not actually what you said. But a case is never right until you've actually heard the other side. You haven't actually presented proof. You later on came on board to say that you have misinterpreted. Now, with this question now, going over to the bonding, will we now say that the 19 northern states governors, or northern states rather, in the northern, what are they calling it? Northern Senators Forum, the NSF, they disowned Ningi. Now, you're talking about bonding. Was it right for them, or were they justly or just in their acts in disowning him as regards governance?
Well, I think I will speak from the place of, and that's a bit of a political question, but this is the idea. So I'm guessing that they decided to step back from Ningi so that they prove that they are with the Senate. And so just saying that you're on your own, you said it on your own as a man standing by himself. So that was what they did. If they had stood by him, then it will even show more that there is strong discord. And then before you know it, the Southerners will also take their sides. Before you know, the Easterners take their side. And then you are having fracas. You are having clear break.
And what happened in 1966 might replicate.
So
okay.
They are trying to play very smart to say Ningi will bear the brunt of whatever he has done. And thankfully, he has come out to say, I'm sorry.
And he will carry his cross.
He will carry his cross. So I'm sorry for what I did. Because the thing is, before you say something like that, you should have consulted your friends. You have friends, speak to them. What's happening? What's happening? And some people are instigators. It may not have been the one who saw that gap initially. It must have been somebody incited to do so. And so for him to have voiced out that powerfully, he must have gotten some backings from people saying, go, we're behind you. And then he's there now, they're saying,
they backed out.
You're your own now.
So it falls back to Senator Bamidele's accusation. That he is actually right concerning his defense of defending the Senate, being that he's the one chairing the Senate.
Yeah, to an extent.
Okay. Well, it's been nice having you on the show, Pelumi. Actually, the credibility dent on the Red Chamber is lamentable, according to Senate President Godswill Akpabio, with conflicting statements from distinguished colleagues, enough to mar the image of the legislative arm of government. It is of optimism that what is left of the damage done to the image of the Senate before and during the 10th Senate be refurbished or rebranded. I'm Odiawa AI, and the show has been Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. You'll do well to subscribe to this channel on our YouTube platform and also follow us across various social media platforms. Thanks for watching.